Hello and good evening, or good day, good afternoon to Professor Pia and her class, especially the class officers. I'm happy to be able to share with you my thoughts and insights on savings and investments, which I've been very fascinated about since 1990, my first job in stock markets, where I was trying to read the financials of stock market companies to check which ones are really good to invest in now. And I've kept in touch with the stock market ever since. And now it's graduated to stocks and mutual funds and investment funds by insurance companies and unit investment trust funds by banks. So there's all kinds of investment vehicles that you should master if you are going to be a modern, competent adult who is saving money for her own personal future, and also for the future of your kids if you have any, and also for the welfare of your family in case you're taking care of your parents, or if you perhaps are taking care of the less fortunate by means of some charity work. Then this is a way for you to make the money of the charitable organization more effective by saving it in the right instruments and investing in precisely the good instruments that will give you good growth over time. Target 15% a year. And then the more expert you become, then the more you can make money grow 20% a year or 30% per year. Even though there may be inconsistencies from year to year, but the long-term trend of your investment expertise will allow you to make money grow either 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30% a year, depending on the instrument. So I'd like to introduce you to the savings and investment instruments and vehicles that travel at either 5 kilometers per hour or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30. Remember that if you want to get someplace fast, you get in the fast vehicle. But the fast vehicle sometimes gets into accidents because it's running too fast or weaving in and out of traffic. But if you want to get someplace slow but safe, you sometimes ride a bus or take a train, in which case you have no control over the movements of the bus or the train. You're just a passenger, but at least you get there most of the time safely enough. So our basic outline is how to save money effectively to secure my family's future, which requires discipline and sacrifice. And then as a personal hobby, how to develop my own expertise in investment vehicles, which is almost like so important, like for a modern worker, how to use spreadsheets, for example, electronic, or how to use all kinds of software on the computer as well as on the phone, or how to use communications instruments, for example, and how to navigate from this place or the other, and or how to run a household, simply physically the laundry and the groceries, and then how to cook. And culinary arts is very taxing, it's very difficult, and there's lots of terms to master, but there are many people who make it their hobby. And I'd be happy if you can make your hobby how to make money grow. Whether you want it to grow slow and safe, or you want it to grow fast but a little risky, but you monitor the money a little more closely so as to keep tabs on it. In the same way that if you're driving a fast car, you naturally have to be more alert than if you're simply riding a bus. So we will talk about how to let money grow steadily, 5% a year on the average over 5 years, or if you like 20 years, kaya. And which instruments can allow money to grow fast, 15% a year on the average over 10 or 30 years. The secret is research. And then the moment you find out which instruments are good, then you have to be decisive. And you also have to be brave and confident of putting money in those instruments where you're thinking, I've never done this before, and I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. But there's only one way to find out: trial and error. You have to invest money and hope for the best. Wag naman expect the worst. The worst happened in year 2008 and 2020. With 2008 was a big global financial crisis. Bagsak lahat ng stock markets, but they recovered by 2013. Now for COVID, our stock markets dropped in the first 3 months of February, March, April. And then some of them started struggling back March, April, May, June. And then it's a little slower in Asia, but in the US and European markets, they're back to where they started. So it's not as if you have to wait 4 years for a full recovery. And in the meantime, while our Asian stock markets are on the path to mending themselves, I argue that this is the place to get on board. Don't wait until they're way up here for you to invest. You buy low and sell high, di ba? So kasama na dyan to buy low when they are depressed and you see that they are less expensive than ever before, but only because of restrictions on mobility of movement. The moment people can travel around and dine out in restaurants and go places and stay in hotels, then they will travel around, and also they'll be able to work in factories a lot easier. And that will push forward the economy because remember, everybody needs to eat, everybody wants money, everybody needs a job, everyone wants a bright future. And all of this is the driving force actually of the Philippine economy. Not the central bank, not NEDA. They are like setting the stage and setting the parameters, but the people doing all the work are the hardworking breadwinners, parents, hard workers like you and your spouses and your parents. All the hardworking Filipinos are the ones who really drive the economy forward. So that's what makes me confident that this economy will recover and grow, because how many Filipinos want to eat better food? I think all of them. And how many of them want to live in a nice house? I think all of them. And then how many want to buy a nice car if needed? Many, not all. Some people prefer musical instruments over cars. Some people prefer to pursue other hobbies like art and music, and rather than simple mechanical devices. Okay, I understand, I appreciate. But lots of people want a better life, and that's actually what's going to impel this economy forward. You think it's weak growing at only 5%, or wait a minute, negative 5% a few years ago, umabot ng 6, and then now we're getting a negative 7. We're getting a negative 7 for this year, and maybe a positive 7 for next year. At least that's what 32 economists think. They were surveyed by financial institutions. You think we'll have a recovery next year? And then 32 said yes. I think after the big 7% drop, we'll have a 7% rise next year. That's what the economists think, and they might have a reason for being optimistic, all of them on average. Some are very negative, but majority are thinking there will be a fighting spirit in the population wanting to get back to a better life pre-COVID. So we're going to talk in this lecture about where to save and invest money, given that our economy is growing, everybody's working hard. So where do you place your money, and what stocks which promise good growth and not only capital appreciation but also good cash dividends? So over the next hour and a half, I will talk about time deposits, government bonds, shares of stock that pay cash dividends, and then shares of stock which have a 15-year history of a rising share price, meaning constantly moving up even if there's a kind of zigzag. Remember that this year 2020 is not the only year that had a crisis in the economy. Practically every year there's a crisis, minor, maybe 7 minor crises, and every 7 years there's a major crisis. But we survived them all because everybody wants a better life. So nobody's gonna take it sitting down that we're in an economic recession. Everybody's gonna fight back and try to want to earn more money and have nicer things. For parents always want to provide for their children, and that's really the driving force of the Philippine economy, the care and concern of parents, who are the hardest working people that I know, because they definitely want to have a better life for themselves and their kids and their grandkids. And think about this, your own kids will eventually have their own grandkids, and there might be more and more descendants having your family name for the next many years. I'd urge you not just to think about your kids and grandkids, but your descendants through time. And to put up a scholarship foundation that will benefit the people with your family name for many years to come. And that can be done with the help of a trust fund, which will take care of your family scholarship needs and or business capital needs for the next, you can make it 50 years, you can make it 100 years. And then 100 years from now, you will have some descendants who will bless your name because you thought of this plan to put together a scholarship fund for the younger members of the clan who might be less fortunate. Anyway, so we'll talk about, in order to do get all of these good objectives, to do all of these good things, should I put my money in cash, in bonds, in investment funds, which are good, which are bad, some are good, some are bad, and how to select. And then later on, if you want another session, we'll talk about the intermediate topics, like how to open a stockbroker account, how to transfer money from your bank account to your broker account, how to buy and sell stocks online, and then how to build and design your first ever stock market portfolio, and then how to subscribe to or redeem to cash mutual funds or investment funds. And then I still have another potential session for advanced topics, economic outlook for the Philippines. What are the top 30 stocks in the Philippines? I will actually mention them in this first introductory session. But I go into further details in that advanced topics. What are the top 30 and why are they the best ones to buy? And what's my list of recommended stocks to buy from now until June of next year? And then how do you tell if a stock is cheap or expensive? And then fundamental analysis, like how to forecast whether a certain stock will do well in price over the next 2 years. And normally that's due to the earnings or the profits of the company moving up over time. Oops, I'm sorry, the neighbors are noisy, excuse them. And then I'll talk about time horizons. Meaning you need money for this year, money for 5 years from now, you need money for 10 years from now, you need money for 15 years from now, 30 years from now, and you want to preserve a fund that will benefit your family for the next many, many years, 100 years. And it's called a legacy. And it can start with as little as 30,000 pesos that you allow it to grow over time until it becomes a significant enough amount. By the time you have a significant chunk of money that can be your savings that you can leave to your kids and grandkids, then that can be attended to by a trust bank. Okay, so I'll make another video lecture about introductions to savings and investment, including the life cycle of investing. All right, so I recorded this because I might be in a place on November 4 with unstable internet connection. So rather than you getting a garbled version of the lecture, I opted to video record it on Zoom. And then actually I tried recording the voice over Zoom, but it came out garbled. So I'm gonna record just video on Zoom separately from the audio file. It comes out clearer that way, even though you might have some difficulty synchronizing the audio file with the video file. So better quality audio comes out if I separate the two. I've tried other softwares, but they still come out garbled somehow, the voice. Okay, so move to the next file, the first one on the cycles of life and investing long term. Okay.